switching over to the Maine Report. I gotta say really quick, a fun little thing I saw on Instagram is, uh, how do you say it? What's the Magic's G League team? I don't want to butcher. Uh, it's Ossiot. No, I, I don't even want to butcher it. It's a town in right outside of Orlando.
Osceola.
Osceola. Yeah, I think that's how you
that
say
sounds
it.
right.
Yeah. I don't want to butcher it. I remember seeing Mac McClung play for that team last year. That was a fun game. I have someone from the Maine Celtics who's the ball boy. He was telling me a story about what happened last year. You'll have to stay tuned for that. But I saw some funny pictures, some cool team bonding pictures, which when we go back to the Maine Celtics, we'll have to ask them about this. But they went fishing. So let's pull up some of those. You got John Tonje right here, caught some fish. They were really out there in Florida. Hassan Ward, 2-year player with them now, caught a fish as well. You guys remember this name, maybe Aaron Scott from Summer League, also out there, caught a fish. And the one I thought was pretty interesting right here was Keon Johnson, who I that might be his own boat, because I remember I went to go see if he had any other pictures on there, but he must have taken them off. But I saw that Keon Johnson is a fisher as well. He likes fishing, so that's interesting to see in there as well. But some good team bonding. But one thing I do want to talk about, and I'll actually switch it over to David, if you wanted to just talk about how the Maine Celtics have been playing as of recently, really quick, if you wanted to dive into that really quick, David.
Yeah, so it's been a little bit of hot and cold here for Maine. And their 3 games in March, they won against the Windy City Bulls to kick off the month on the 1st. Then on March 8th, they got blown out by the Magic by 31. And then just yesterday, they were able to get their get back against the Magic and win by 7 down in Florida. They're sitting at 14-16 right now in the season, and they're on the outside looking in for the Eastern Conference playoffs here. They're in 10th, 14-16. Noblesville Boom is right ahead of them at 14-15. And it's Capital City Go-Go who have the last playoff spot in the Eastern Conference currently.
So how many games do they have to win out of the – do they have to win out now, or maybe –
I think it depends on what happens with the other teams. Yeah. I can say we have 6 games left in the season. 6 more games left in the season.
Yeah, so gotta really watch it. All right, so we'll keep eye on that. Ian, I gotta say, you're going Friday. That'll be fun. Moses Brown facing off against them, right? Is he still? Because I remember I went to the game against the Gold, and Moses Brown was on there. I wonder if he's still on there. That'll be a fun one to watch. Are you excited for the game coming up?
I am excited. I think it'll be a good time. I always like going up to Maine Celtics games. Obviously, living in Massachusetts, it's not as easy, but when I get the chance, I definitely try to go up there because it's a really great atmosphere. And but yeah, I'm very excited to see what's been going on. And I saw John Tonje had a really big game last night. Amari Williams has had some big games recently. I'm a huge fan of Keon Johnson. I've always kind of been a fan of his when I saw him in Brooklyn. So when they signed him, I was pretty excited, and so, I think there's a lot to be excited about, and I'm ready to see what you guys are hyping up about the Maine Celtics here.
It's been a fun season, it's been rough because they've been battling with some injuries out there, but it's been fun. And speaking of that, you mentioned it, Ian, John Tonje's 42 points last night. This is a guy who we signed to a 10-day contract, and this is a guy that you guys need to take a flyer on because he's been producing ever since he's been with the Maine Celtics. And I think this is a guy where you look at it, if you can even get him on a 2A next year, maybe see more of what he can do. But I am a big fan of John Tonje. But do you guys have anything else you want to talk about the 42 points? I know you just mentioned it, Ian. So, David, do you have anything?
No, it just shows the potential that a guy like John Tonje can have. Talk about Ron Harper Jr. in a second as well, but yeah. I just want to like echo this quote that I didn't hear it last night when I was watching highlights of Ron Harper Jr.'s game right before this podcast on YouTube. This quote from Drew Carter is like so true, where Brad Stevens is just in a lab, like duplicating these 3-and-D wings that come up from Maine. And it's just like so true with like Ron Harper, Sam Hauser, potentially John Tonje. I mean, I don't know. I think that that's like really good roster building. You can never have a surplus, in my opinion, of versatile wings that can hit the three and play defense. So keep them coming until I die as a Celtics fan.
I can say one thing about Tanji that I was really impressed about. He would normally come out first with the warm-ups that I saw. He's a lot more athletic than I thought when I first saw him. Like he can dunk on guys like pretty easily. Like I was kind of surprised. I did not know like he kind of had as much athleticism as he did. Just kind of based like on his build. Like when you see like normally you don't really kind of expect that thing, but he's really talented, and this athleticism is very. It's going to be very interesting because I feel like even if the Celtics don't take a flyer on him, somebody will, and I think somebody will eventually he will eventually find a spot somewhere in the NBA in my mind, because I feel like his athleticism really does play.
That's a good take. That'll be one to look back on once John Tonje is a member in this NBA, because I think he's super talented. I think this is a guy to really keep your eyes on for sure. But you mentioned it, David, in there too. Ron Harper Jr. 22 points last night. Ian, I want to ask you initially because, and David, you too, because I don't know if you were on last week's episode. No, I don't think you were, about when we were talking if Ron Harper Jr. gets a contract with this team. Do you see a contract by the end of the season? I still believe in it, especially after last night's performance. I don't see a world that we don't sign him to a 2 or 3 year deal. But Ian, do you see Ron Harper Jr. getting one, especially after last night?
I don't know. I mean, like he's definitely shown a lot more than like a guy like Drew Peterson, for example. Like I remember when Drew Peterson had like a couple games last year where he looked good. I think Ron Harper has shown a lot more than that. I think the only reason why he wouldn't get a contract would be cap constraints for Boston, because they normally keep the 15th roster spot open, just as cap circumvention. So like if he doesn't get a contract, I think that's going to be the reason why. But that's not always been the case. They signed Neemias Queta to their 15th man in the 2024 season when they were very much over the cap. So it's just one of those things. I think it's all going to depend on cap circumvention when it comes to Ron Harper Jr. getting a standard contract. But with the way he's been playing, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me at all if he did end up getting one by the end of the season. But just if it doesn't happen, I think the only reason why it wouldn't would be because of the cap constraints.
Yeah. What do you got, David?
I think it's going to be happening, honestly. I've been doing a lot of research on this. Shout out to Google Gemini as well, along with Twitter, for helping me understand this, where there's a theory going on right now that the Celtics are going to wait. And I personally believe this to be true. The Celtics are going to wait until the final day of the regular season to sign Ron Harper Jr. to a standard contract. They're going to do that for a couple reasons. One, to make sure he's eligible for playoffs. I mean, I don't know with rotations being tightened as much as they are in playoffs if he's going to be able to contribute. But the second and more important reason is what you were talking about a little bit there, Ian. It's just the situation with the salary cap. Now, had we given him a standard contract in the middle of the season, like right around when Amari Williams got his standard contract, it's prorated as far as I understand from all this research I'm doing. But his cap hit, if we sign him on the final day of the season, which is the last day we can do it for him to playoff eligible, would be potentially as low as like $50,000-$55,000. And there's a little bit of manipulation going on here, obviously, with the Celtics. 600,000 according to this, under this luxury tax. So I personally think this is going to be a formality. They're just waiting it out strategically. But I do think Ron Harper Jr. is going to be getting a standard contract and filling up that 15 spot. I just think it's going to come like very, very close to, if not the final day of the regular season. So I just think it's a lot of just waiting at the salary cap. That's what the holdup is.
I hope. Ian, do you have anything else you want to say?
For Ron Harper Jr. lover as well, who's watching these videos, I hope they're safe with that.
No, shout out to him for sure. But yeah, I think it's definitely cool to see him like kind of turn his NBA career around, because what was it last season that was he not on a team last year? Or like there was something to where like he didn't play for like a very long period of time or something. Maybe I'm mistaken, but I felt like there was like a time where like he wasn't playing for somebody, and like, but he was a bucket in the Raptors G League. I remember when they first signed him, I'm like, wait a minute, that's a name I recognize. And, you know, he's been in the Rising Stars games a couple of times. So like, I think I've seen him through that as well. And, you know, he was always a very interesting prospect in my mind, but the fact that he's been able to put it together, and like, I think that Rising Stars game kind of like put everybody onto him a little more. Just giving him more of a platform and kind of seeing his personality and stuff. And like, he's kind of just like a really good guy who's just kind of grinding it out here. And he's become, you know, a solid contributor to the Celtics, where like, you know, in the beginning of the season, who would have thought that he would end up becoming this kind of legitimate guy for Boston. So I think, like you said, it should come in time. And like, worst case scenario, maybe he signs another 2-way with the Celtics in the offseason, you know, kind of thing. So
yeah, and we just talked to Spencer Martin, the Maine Celtics broadcaster, so go check it out after this. He talked about, you know, last year even Ron Harper Jr. was battling with some injuries. So, you know, he played with the Maine Celtics last year, then got that 2-way with the Pistons, and I hope it happens. I really do.